All right. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us in this one consciousness class. I'm happy that you're here and taking time to relax and to connect with what is real. Um, Okay, it's quite something. We have this class. It is connected to the idea of one consciousness as we represent, and it is connected to the books of Acropolis, books of the free gift that they hand out on a weekly basis, at least for the last 12 weeks. Now they stopped doing that. So this time it is the sixth class, and it's connected to the book of The Art of Meditation by Joel Goldsmith. And is one of my favorite books, actually. I discovered that when I have to prepare, it's like, oh, that's so great. I love this chapter too. So this is chapter 9, I think, from The Art of Meditation, and it's called Fear Not. I think it's one of the most popular chapters that Joel has written, because it's being used a lot. It sounds like a classic. If you read through, it's like, oh yeah, I read that before. So then there's always the um, a bit of a danger not to really listen to what it says, or think that you already know what it says. So that's why I want to stay fresh, so to speak, and stay alert to really pick up what it actually is going to say to us. And to make that easier for ourselves, I came up with some questions as like a backbone to the hour that we spent together. And okay, I'm going to read those. I think four questions I have. What does fear do? And when will good come to me? What is the cause of discords and inharmonies? How to recognize God as the soul of every person? So these are quite some questions. So one more time, what does fear do? When will good come to me? What is the cause of discords and inharmonies? How to recognize God as the soul of every person? So if we could get answers to this, that would be wonderful. And actually, they're all represented in this chapter of Joel. But you gotta listen to it really carefully. You gotta read through it really carefully in order to pick it up. And so that's what we're going to do in this hour. And so it is a meditative class. It is an online healing meditation. So Joel always has a bit of it's like, healing consciousness, contemplation, meditation, prayer. That is much like, that is all a bit of the same stuff, so to speak. And it is like, we're going within, we're quieting down, and we're really going to say, relax ourselves into this moment, into this present moment. And so let's start doing that right now. So you can breathe, and you can sit back and relax and sigh, leave behind you what you don't need in this hour. Leave behind you all your concerns and your occupations, your sidetracks, your thoughts about things, like your opinions. All of that we leave behind for just a second or for just an hour, just to be relieved of it. We're not going to need it in this hour. So that's the lovely thing about meditation, to really leave that behind and actually turn within and make a deep connection with yourself in this. So a deep connection with withinness. There's the kingdom. There's everything. Like, there's the fulfillment. There's the pure communication available. Despite of our little chatterbox that doesn't seem to stop, does the direct communication take place in this very moment? So that's the invitation for today. That's basically what we do in this hour. And from that, everything is occurring spontaneously by itself. So that means we're not really trying to achieve a goal here. I set up 4 questions just to have a little bit of a red thread through it. But at the same time, it's like, no, this is what completedness is. This is what fulfillment is. Staying in this moment, allowing that moment to be complete in itself, not trying to adjust it, not trying to add to it. No, just completely allowing it to be what it is. And basically, that is what practicing the presence is, and that is what meditation or contemplation is. And yeah, you can also call it spiritual healing, because if I come in touch with who I truly am, then that is what healing is. You know, it's like I only have to recognize that myself. In that recognition, in that experience of oneness, of true communication, is everything healed. And so Joel says all kinds of things in this chapter too. It's like he guides us through little traps that you might fall into when you're pretty new on this path, or when you think like, oh my God, why don't I see any result of my healing? Like one of the things he says about healing, for instance, is, well, if you think that you're doing something, you might be disappointed because you look for an outcome. And so on the other hand, if you don't look for an outcome and let the results be whatever they are, then you're free of that, because basically it's not your concern at all to see that there's healing or not going on. So it's like you just are available for this, to connect within and make this your consciousness, like literally come into your healing consciousness, into your whole mind, if you want. Okay. Let me turn off one of them. Let me see, there's somebody who has, yeah. Okay. Sorry for this. So here we go. What does fear do? You know, fear does something. So what is it that it does? Joel says something about this. But first of all, he says, like, fear not, because that's one of the phrases in the Bible. And I'll read that, what Joel says about it too. So he starts like this: in conscious union with God, the mind rests. The human mind is no longer concerned with the problems of today or tomorrow, because the soul's union with God, the conscious realization of God, reveals God as the fulfillment of every need, even before the need is apparent. Concern, fear, and doubt vanish in the midst of fulfillment. The true meaning of the words "fear not" is revealed. In conscious union with God, the mind of God functions as our mind, as our experience, and as our life. Then the human mind rests and performs its proper function as an avenue of awareness. So we see that it's not so easy to read just like that. It's like, okay, so now I know what fear is, and okay, so fear not means I'm in a direct experience of communication. See, that's not so easy to grasp. So basically, if you look at what Joel says here, it is like this. It is, you make this world real. You make this world real by your fear. Basically, everything that turns your heartbeat up, like fear, anxiety, being in shock, like, has always to do with a response to something that you think is going on in this world. So it is like, then you know that you're alive, because if you see yourself for just a moment as an animal consciousness, so to speak, it is like, okay, fight and flight. So there's an impulse, there's a response to it, and that puts you in action, like by running away or attacking. That would be the basic structure of your adrenaline adrenaline mechanism that's happening in your blood, for instance. So fear is always connected to something that is a response to something you see or think. It is always to do with something that might occur. You know, it's never in the moment. It is never being completely present in the moment. No, it's something you fear that might happen. So it has basically short tracked to that. It's like it basically has nothing to do with any occurrence. It has to do with your ideas about it, with whether it's going to happen or not. It doesn't matter. You can still be afraid of it. And you can wake up at night of it. It can disturb your rest. You know, so that is what fear does. Like it is a disturbance, basically. It is a disturbance because of something that you think or perceive or want to perceive. So that's interesting to see that. And so to fear not is actually basically a very big big message. It's quite a chunk to really get what that says, even though it's a simple instruction. Fear not. There's nothing to be afraid of. No, but in the assumption of nothing to be afraid of is like a whole seeing the world aright idea behind it. You know, so you have to see the world as it is, like as you recognize it as your own ideas. You have to see the world as like through Christ's vision in order not to be afraid of it. Because if you, with your human mind, walk around and see this world, there's every reason to be completely afraid. You know, that's simply how you perceive the world. It's like that threat that can happen, floods, viruses, or you name it, the whole shebang. Like that is when you walk around with your conceptual mind in your human frame of reference, there will always be a possibility or a temptation to fear something that might happen to you. So here it's completely different. So Joel says, when the mind is in communication, it is completely quiet. It is completely still. See, and that is what we bring into this class. That is what we are offering to one another in this class. The mind at rest. The mind at rest functions, you know. If the mind is not at rest, it is in anxiety and it's attacking and it's defending itself to all kinds of seeming threats. And that is the simple statement about that. So here we are. The mind is at rest. We have a possibility of communication. And this communication is what we call meditation or contemplation. It's basically turning within and making a connection with your withinness, with your kingdom. Yeah, that's wonderful. So you might want to breathe a little and relax, you know. Even also at the end of this class, we will have a meditation connected to the idea of fear not, which is also a popular one, so to speak. It is listened to many times and you probably have heard of it before. But see, it is comforting because what it does is and basically it cuts down all the ties to worldly ideas about what might happen, worldly ideas about time, and worldly ideas about everything that isn't. And it directs you to the I within, the still small voice speaking to you. Okay, so in order to understand or to really grasp the idea of fear not, Joel brings in another segment, so to speak. I will read the second question that I put down. When will good come to me? When will good come to me? So I'll read it first, what he says. Um, let me see where it is. God is the consciousness of individual being. Therefore, infinity is the measure of that being. Nothing can be added to you. Nothing can be taken from you. So no good can come to you. No evil can touch you. You embrace within your own being the infinity of good. Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. All that God is already established within you. You are that place in consciousness through which the infinite nature of God is revealing itself. Therefore, God cannot flow to you. Good expresses itself from within and pours out upon all who come within range of your consciousness, of your conscious awareness of this truth. It is only to refrain from taking thought, to relinquish all anxious, fearful thought, to be still. I'll read that last sentence one more time. Therefore, good cannot flow to you. Good expresses itself from within and pours out upon all those who come within your conscious awareness of this truth. It is only necessary to refrain from taking thought, to relinquish all anxious, fearful thought, to be still. So he says, no good can come to you. It's like in your conscious connection, in your direct communication with God, in your whole mind, if you want, in your contemplative state, everything is complete. So no good can come to you. Like there's literally no space for anything else. This is what I've said before in entering into the present moment. Like you come with empty hands because literally there's no space for anything else. It is complete within itself. It doesn't need any, nothing needs to be added to it. And that's good to realize that, because it's like that's easier to let go of everything that you think it should need, this moment needs. So that's with good. It needs if you're waiting for the good to come to you because of something, it is not going to happen. It is just like frustrating yourself um, to wait for something that will not occur. But in your recognition that in this communication, everything is given to you, you will never have any questions about it. You just rely on that. So that's the beauty of this, say, spiritual path, is that your certainty grows in that. Like more and more, you're going to be convinced that everything is given to you in the moment, in this moment, here and now, um, and is like completing itself all the time. It confirms its completion. And that has to do with health. It has to do with any idea that you hold about yourself, your financial situation, your this, your that. Like you don't stand still, you don't meditate with the purpose of getting that. No, but in your recognition of the completedness of this present moment, everything is going to be given to you. See, then, okay, so the next moment is, okay, I can have fearful thoughts about it. It's like, oh my God, I just lost my job, and now what am I going to do? How is my financial situation? Oh my God, I don't know what's going on. See, then you're already off center, so to speak. You're already taking a little detour into fear, in which you're going to create something and make real for yourself that is actually a total disturbance and basically a denial of what truth is. So then, like I said, with the meditation, you come with empty hands, completely open. You take nothing with you, and you stand still in this moment to listen, to communicate, to be in a direct, say, experience of love, of direct communication. So this is what we do in our meditation. This is what we do in our class. This is what we do in the conscious recognition and remembrance of the present moment. And everything is given into that. Like everything is given in that moment. The guidance to go somewhere, something to share with your brother. You name it. Everything that you're supposed to do will be given. You just see yourself do it. Suddenly you find yourself doing things. Suddenly you see yourself express something that you could never have had come up with. So that's what I love about this process. Like it is bringing you to the moment. It is the only moment where you can be free of fear. And it is giving you exactly what you're looking for. All right. So that was part of the second question. And the third question was this. What is the cause of discords and inharmonies? Let me see if Joel writes something about that too. Okay, yeah, this is really interesting too. All power is established within you. Do not look for man. Do not look to man whose breath is in his nostrils. Do not put your faith or trust in princes, no matter how high or how powerful. There is no power external to you. Never fear any effect. Never fear that which is created. Trust the Creator. Shall creation mean more to you than Creator? Shall you love that which has been created more than you love the Creator? Can you fear that which God has created? Is there a Creator other than God? Is there another creation, a creation apart from God? Lo, this only have I found, that God has made man upright, that they have sought out many inventions. Do not fear what man can think, say, or do. Do not fear the inventions or machinations of the human mind. Wow. Here's more. Do not fear any evil thought or deed which is directed toward you or anyone else. Do not fear any person, and above all, do not resent or hate him, unless you would bind him to you by the loathsome chains of hatred. You must understand that evil can touch only that person who is entertaining it. Therefore, never fear evil, never hate it, never resent it, but always respond with compassion. Wow. So the last piece of the text that I want to share with you is this. Never look upon the discords and inharmonies of your life as if they represent a lack of understanding or a lack of demonstration. Regard these unfortunate circumstances as opportunities which will be dissolved when they no longer serve their purpose as spurs to your spiritual unfoldment. Never look upon the discords and inharmonies of your life as if they represent a lack of understanding or a lack of demonstration. And that's a bit like what we used last week too, and that's this idea is like you're dealing with basically with manifestations, like with you see them, they're reflections, but they're actually not occasions at all. So it's always a representation of what you are thinking that represents itself. So that was the answer to the question then, is like, what is the cause of discords and inharmonies? Is basically your ideas of the possibility of them. That's the only thing. So you don't need to say like, oh my God, I'm just a beginner. It doesn't really work that well. All this inharmony in my life and all this discords, I cannot take it anymore. It's like, no, then you're missing the point. Basically, it has nothing to do with your spiritual progress or anything. No, it has to do with what is it that you see, and it just manifests itself for you to remember that it is an occurrence. It's like a manifestation, and it's not a real happening. And that is just pretty amazing to go through this. You know, it's like it is basically dislodged from materialism. It is dislodged from identification with this place or with this like a material world, so to speak. So that is, and I hope that this is clear to you when I try to express this. It is like the main thing that we share, and this chapter that we actually share together, is on a very basic level, but so basic that it's not so easy to grasp, so to speak. So it's like it just points in one direction, basically in the direct communication with God. That's where it happens. That's where you can be at rest. That's where all this collapses. Like everything that you think is a reason to be afraid, or a judgment about yourself, about where you find yourself in your spiritual path, like all that collapses into this present moment where you actually discover, oh my God, this is a forgiving God. You know, there was no judgment at all. The only judgment that I carried with me was a judgment about myself. And when I let go of that, I basically have every opportunity to connect and to communicate directly with God. Nothing is in the way. Like I'm good enough. Like I did not create myself. So all the ideas that I hold about myself are not very helpful to me for my spiritual development. Because spiritual development is basically letting go of all your ideas and coming with open hands into the present moment, and like not listening to the fear anymore, but actually entering into a whole different place where fear is absent. In that stillness inside of you, in the connection with your kingdom, you see that fear dissolves, and that you're actually purely communicating and receiving all the images, like all the experiences or revelations, if you want, where you see that all is well, that there's nothing to be afraid of, that there's a great certainty coming with you wherever you go. So that is the real comforting message of this chapter: fear not. You know, because fear not would not be enough. Like it would be like, okay, I have a house, I'm afraid, I hear every night, I hear the wolves like really cry out every night. So now I'm going to make a fence around my house and see that I keep them outside. Like that would not bring you the fear not part. It would not bring you into peace, because there's still a threat out there. And this, what Joel is presenting here to us, is the opposite. It's like, no, there is nothing to fear. You're going to access that knowledge basically by coming into the present moment and being in communication with everything that is. What could possibly be a threat to you if there is nothing outside yourself, if there is no judgment about you that has any reality? If there's literally nothing attacking you. So you can be completely vulnerable and be open to this communication. And this communication, we're going to dive deeper into that in the meditation that we're going to do in just a couple of minutes. Let me see if I got all the questions. Oh yeah. Um, how to recognize God as the soul of every person. Joel writes a little bit, and I want to read that to you too. It's one paragraph. Have courage to look at every person and circumstance that you consider harmful or destructive. In the silence, face the situation fearlessly, face the condition or the person, and you will discover that it or he is an image of your own thought. And therefore, there is no cause, jurisdiction, or law to support it. Recognize God as the soul of every person, and God as the activity in every situation. And see, that is great. That's great. That's a great instruction. And at the other hand, it is like, okay, how are we going to do that? So, how am I supposed to look fearlessly at the situations that I'm in? So then the immediate tool that comes around that is really helpful to you, that you can apply at any moment, is to step out of the situation for a moment, to disconnect for a moment, and maybe find a quiet place to sit for with yourself for an instant. And then you turn within and you come in communication, or at least you let go of your concerns about the situation. And then something can happen. Then you can enter into communication with God. And so basically, to release the fear, you will have to see it for what it is. And to release the fear is also then um, to basically to go within. To recognize that God is the soul of every man is to go within and recognize it in yourself. Just like we shared in the beginning of this class, it's like, yeah, whether it's meditation, whether it's contemplative meditation, whether it's a healing consciousness, whether it's a mystical consciousness, however you're going to call it, basically it all comes down to, yes, I have to turn within and come with open hands to my Father, to my withinness, to my kingdom. From there, like, everything will fall into place. But the more I apply that, and the more I see that that is working, like experience that that is working, in that my certainty grows, and it will show me everywhere that there's no exception to the love of God. Okay, so I hope you're, say, warmed up now for the meditation. Fear not. And yeah, it is quite a long meditation. Like, there will be a lot of lines supporting you in your meditation. So I would assume that you just take time to go for this, and to let these words come to you. Don't try to understand them, but let them affect you. Just feel them in what they say. Let them talk to you instead of you trying to understand them. So, yeah, you might want to close your eyes and sit back, relax, and let this come to you. So you discover the most basic thing that we're doing here is comforting you. Is just bringing you to your silence, to your stillness. You know that Joel brings that with very simple statements, or very comforting statements. Here's the same in this meditation. I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Why all this struggle? I, in the very midst of thee, closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. Why struggle as if you had to seek for me and search for me? Why struggle as if you had to hold on to me? I will never leave you. I am with you always. I will give you water. I will give it to you. So do not struggle for it. Do not strive. Just be still. Let me feed you. Do not try to live by bread, at least not by bread alone. Live by every word, every promise of Scripture, which is fulfilled in you. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. Believe only, and I will give to you of the hidden manna, which is invisible to the world, incompatible with common sense, incomprehensible to human understanding, hidden in the depths of your own being. I have meat the world knows not of. If you ask me, I will give you water. Listen to me, the still small voice at the center of your being. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. Even in the valley of the shadow of death, I will be with you. You will never know death. You will never die. I give you living waters that spring up into life everlasting. If you listen for my still small voice, if you rest in the everlasting arms, if you relax in me, if you let my every word feed you and be your bread of life and your staff, you will never die. My spirit is with you. My presence goes before you. I go to prepare a place for you. Stop fearing. Stop doubting. Rest in my bosom. Rest in my arms. Rest in my love and be at peace. Trust the I in the center of your being. Believe that I can do these things. Believe there is a presence at the center of your being whose only function is to bless, to be a benediction, and to be the instrument of my grace. Trust me. Believe only in me and fear not. So we will be quiet for some time and meditate for say a couple of minutes. All right. See, so not looking for a result, not going anywhere. It's like, no, it's right here. You sink deeper into yourself. Your mind chatter might be going on. You just let that be. Emotions might arise. You just let that be. You're not doing anything with it like you would do in your daily consciousness. But here's your time to communicate directly and to relax literally in everlasting arms. To relax deeply. It's an amazing thing of this present moment is that there is no fear. There's literally nothing you can be worried about because that would mean that you're actually using your human chatter mind, so to speak. And when you don't do that, you actually immediately come into a state of stillness, quietness. Starts to feel really present and pleasant. It's like, yeah, fear not, because there literally is nothing to fear. In this moment, you get the confirmation of that. There is nothing to fear. So you see the temptations of your mind picking up ideas, picking up thoughts and exceptions and all of that. And you put that to rest right now. You don't react to that. You just only feel your mind expand more and more and more. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me in this class, in this moment, and hope to see you soon.